Good afternoon. It is time for today's tax talk, and I got the. Let's stop this. There we go. Because we got Nancy Mace, Congressman Nancy Mace, is talking about the socialist, what she calls the socialist bill, the Buildback Better bill, and how she wants to stop it. Oh boy. And I was getting some sound. So and that's what we're going to talk about today. So won't you join us? So we are back. A little bit of a hiatus from last week. I better put that back on because I won't be able to hear it. With Thanksgiving and all, I was trying to get back into the swing of things. So thanks so much for joining us. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. It is Monday, the 29th day of November, year of our Lord 2021, and we're dealing with this Build Back Better plan. As you know, probably it has passed the House 2 weeks ago now. No, 1.5 weeks. A week ago last Friday. And there's still a lot going on in the Senate and a lot of talk about what's going to be in the bill because no one knows what's going to be in the bill. I think that they don't want to let us know what's going to be in the bill until it's too late. Then we won't be able to object. Much like the Cash App provisions in the American Families Plan or the American Rescue Plan. This is what's going on. We don't really know what's in the plan until after it passes. So we have to be vigilant and opposing a lot of this stuff. The bank statements, and we're going to talk a little bit about the bank statements. But I have some articles I want to talk about. So let's do that right away, okay? So here's the first article I wanted to talk about. Biden's Build Back Better plan means more IRS audits, less privacy. Now, we've all been told that all these audits, it's really about the wealthy. And this is why we're going after. We need the tax gap. Remember, the tax gap, the wealthy, and cryptocurrency. These are the boogeymen that they're going after, that they're telling us that have been cheating all of us. And this is why our taxes are so high. Of course, they're not going to go down. They're only going up. And, my favorite part of this is they keep telling us this is why, but they've already spent this money even before that they can get it. They've promised us money from doing these audits that they probably won't get, and they've already spent the money. And so they're not letting our taxes go down. They're just spending more of it. And that's always the case. But they're trying to pit us one against the other. So here, President Joe Biden wants Americans to believe that his proposed increases in the Internal Revenue Service's budget and enforcement powers are strictly about enforcing the rich pay their fair share. In reality, Biden's plan would mostly harm small businesses and households of modest means and lead to a total financial surveillance. And this is really where the problem comes in my mind. So I'm going to go back to this other article because I think it's that one references this article. Biden wants to empower the IRS despite its track record of trampling rights and undermining privacy. The IRS's track record suggests that beefed up enforcement will also mean more trampling of Americans' due process rights. I think that goes without saying. And the more money they want to collect, the more rights they're going to trample, and because they're doing it in the name of good. Totalitarians always do it in the name of good. They always do it in the name of helping everyone, right? And this is what they always tell us. It's for the good of society. Don't worry about your own needs. It's for the good of society. Well, in America, we're individualists. We believe that when individuals protect themselves and focus on their own life, it's better for everyone. And then, of course, they have just the opposite. Focus on everyone, and who cares what happens to you? And again, that's backwards, as in my mind, and in the American historical mind. President Joe Biden's plan to beef up IRS enforcement and snoop on Americans' bank accounts will require hiring more than 80,000 additional tax cops, expanding the federal bureaucracy with a long track record of flouting due process and undermining privacy. As part of Biden's Buildback Better plan, BBB, the IRS would get $80 billion in additional funding over the next 10 years. The bulk of those funds, of those news funds, nearly $45 billion would be directed towards enforcement actions with the goal of doubling the number of annual audits of small businesses. And I've been talking about this for months. I've been bringing up this fact that their goal is to double the number of audits of small businesses. They keep telling us that there's less people to audit, there's less auditors, and so therefore they can't do as many audits. What they failed to include is the number of computer audits, right? All of this is done electronically. Audits now are what they call a correspondence audit, where they just match these numbers. As again, this is why they want to do the bank statement reporting, where they match 1099s, W-2s with the information that they get, and they match automatically through the computer, and then they spit out a letter to the taxpayer. This used to be done by hand. This took a lot of hours and a workforce, but not any longer. And so when they start pointing out, well, we have less auditors than we ever did, so does that mean they could do less audits? Well, no, they could do more audits because it's all on electronically, as I mentioned. Not even talking about the processing tax returns, which was a big part of the IRS job, which they don't do anymore. Which would be directed toward enforcement actions. By comparison, the bill spends a relatively meager $1.93 billion on improving tax services, including education and filing assistance. In short, for every new dollar the IRS will spend helping Americans understand the endlessly complicated federal tax code, the agency will spend roughly $23 new on enforcing those same rules. That's how they're going to collect this. This is how they're going to say they're going to pay for all of this. Everyone should pay the taxes they owe, of course, but the IRS's track record suggests that more enforcement will also mean more trampling of Americans' due process rights. It's a systematic practice at the IRS to violate due process and to abuse taxpayers. In my own experience, I think the IRS looks at everybody as a tax cheat, and you have to prove you're not. Just opposite of the American way, right? You're innocent until proven guilty, but not with the IRS. It's a system. Okay, it says, conservative Biden is proposing to boost funding for an agency that needs reform, and that will only lead to us fueling their bad practices. Absolutely true. In 2017, for an example, the Inspector General report found that the IRS agents investigating so-called structuring legal cash deposits that agency believes to have been part of an attempt to skirt tax obligations routinely failed to follow well-established procedures meant to protect the rights of individuals being investigated. Among other things, targets of IRS investigations are supposed to be told the reason for the investigation and read their Miranda rights before an interview with the IRS agent. Of the 229 interviews reviewed by auditors, however, there were only 5 cases where targets were informed of their rights before speaking to investigators, because they don't want you to think you're being investigated. Okay, just come clean, tell us everything. Of course, you have a right to an attorney. Even under the IRS Bill of Rights, you have the right to counsel. Always remember that. Individuals and businesses who are not engaged in unlawful conduct may be less guarded in speaking with law enforcement about their banking transactions, and the absence of information about what their rights are might lead them to make statements that are later used against them. Morales pointed out that 2017 audit report is just one data point in a long line of similar behavior. The most well-known example of the IRS abusing its power, of course, is in 2012 scandal in which the agency was caught applying stricter scrutiny to conservative nonprofits. But even when the IRS isn't engaged engaging in outright political favoritism, there are reasons to worry about what the expanding enforcement capabilities might mean for individuals and businesses. A 2016 Inspector General report found that the IRS had lost track of more than 1,000 computers that might contain sensitive taxpayer information. A year later, an audit found that the IRS had recently rehired at least 200 employees who were previously fired for conduct or performance issues. Biden is pitching his plan for enhanced IRS enforcement by promising that it's all about ensuring billionaires pay what they owe. That's disingenuous, as the details of his proposal make clear. Enhanced tax enforcement will mean vacuuming up more data from crypto wallets, bank accounts, and third-party payment providers such as PayPal and Venmo, and that comes after Biden already ordered the IRS to give greater scrutiny to transactions in the so-called sharing economy. In total, Biden's plan envisions the IRS carrying about 1.2 million more audits each year, according to the House Ways and Means Committee of the Buildback Better plan. About half of those audits would target households making less than $75,000 annually. I'm going to read that again. Half of the audits would target households making less than $75,000. That's not against the rich. Combined with a separate, and again, this is all correspondence stuff. This is still low-hanging fruit because those who make less than $75,000 are more likely to have done their own tax return and more likely to make math errors and other simple errors that are caught electronically. And those are the people that are going to pay. Combined with a separate effort that makes it more difficult to shift assets overseas, Biden's plan amounts to a total financial surveillance. That's where I got that. Total financial surveillance. That surveillance would be carried out by an agency that has a long history of disregarding the guardrails placed on its power. What could go wrong? I had a story here about Congressman Chris from Florida, a Democrat, who is now warning about the bank statement. It has been taken out of the House bill. It was taken out of the House bill before it was put back in and then taken out again. The Senate now is considering the bill and putting in more provisions. One of the provisions they're putting in is the bank statement reporting again, the 1099s. This is because they can't pay for this without going after Americans, and they can't go out with Americans until they had all your information. They have disregarded our privacy rights. They've disregarded our civil rights under surveillance and under the code to give us our rights of presumed innocence until proven guilty. And that's what the bank statement, that's why I'm against the bank statement. It assumes you're guilty and you have to prove your innocence. That's not the way it works in America. And I believe, and that's why I'm fighting, and I'm trying to bring this up to you to make people understand what's going on. That they are still after this bank reporting. They cannot let that go. That is the crux of their plan to get more money. They will raise your taxes now in the new plan. In the House bill, they didn't really raise taxes very much. That's coming. They're already talking about the spring session, and they need another a bill coming up in the spring, I should say, next year, to come up with more ways to gather money, right? And I like that too, hoovering up, vacuuming up all of our information. And so you cannot escape from any dollar. And again, many times it's not the escape of the dollar, right? It's the escape in the sense that you made an error, and every error is going to be held to account. And people say, well, you shouldn't make errors. Our tax system is so complicated, it's almost impossible for people to file by themselves without making an error. And so you will have to seek tax preparer. It will cost you more just to pay less. What I mean by that is pay less because the government will come after you. And so you'll have to pay more in tax preparation services, and make sure that you also with bookkeeping. Bookkeeping costs money, and this is one of the reasons why the banks are against this bank statement reporting, because that bill is placed on them to cover the IRS reporting. Same thing's going to go to all of us. If they do more bank statements, if they do more of this 1099, cash apps and all of this, and brokerage and cryptocurrency, you better keep meticulous records, because if you do not keep meticulous records, you will pay more in taxes. Wrongly, I think, because it's just a matter of reporting. It's not that you owe more money, it's that you didn't keep good records. And most people do not keep good records. And that's just a fact. Now, we can all take a listen, well, you better keep good records or the IRS is coming after you. This is what the problem is with the IRS. We shouldn't have to fear our government that we make an honest mistake, and yet it's going to cost us. That's not the way it should be. Anyway, that's my opinion. And I am Len O'Connor. I'm not really Len O'Connor. I just thought I'd say that because we all know who Len O'Connor is. So remember now, there's going to be a tax increase. The tax increase is coming. There's no way around it. Whether it's a tax increase because they're going to change the rates, or it's a tax increase because they're going to make sure that make you pay more because your records aren't accurate. You're going to pay more. Everybody's going to pay more, and they've already spent the money, and that's really the crux of the problem. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. Remember, if you're fighting the IRS, where do you start? Now, baby, I get this all the time. People say, well, where do I start, Attorney Leahy? Here's where you start. Start with my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. It explains how this all works, what avenues are available for you. So get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today, for free at freeirsbook.com. You can get a hard copy of my book if you agree to pay a small shipping and handling fee. If you don't want to pay the shipping and handling fee, I have electronic versions. I'll give you access to our membership site that has electronic versions. It's got the PDF, the Word version, audio version, and a video commentary on each and every chapter. So go to freeirsbook.com and get your copy of my book for free. And in the meantime, please like and subscribe to this channel. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining me, and we shall call it. So now, remember, tomorrow is Crypto Tuesday. Lots of news in crypto world. It's the fluctuations are back in place, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. So join us, won't you?